AITA for ending my marriage after my wife rejected me 30 times this month? It was 30 times, I counted. And it was not the number that hurt. It was the way she did it, the silence, the averted gazes, the repeated excuses as if I were invisible in my own home. But on the 31st time, well, that is when everything changed. 30 rejections in a single month. I know why I started counting. After the 5th time she rolled over in bed and turned me down. You might think that makes me pathetic, but this is what really happened. I discovered I was married to someone who had no respect for me as a man. It all started seemingly harmlessly. I would approach her at night, and she would come out with the classic, "I'm tired," or "Not tonight, I have a headache." Normal things that happen in marriages, right? Wrong. This was not occasional tiredness. It was a systematic shutdown of our physical connection, and I was too blind to see the pattern until I started logging everything. The app on my phone became my reality check. Every rejection, every excuse, every time she made me feel like wanting my own wife was irrational. Too much stress at work. The kids might hear. I just showered. I'm about to get my period. I think I'm getting my period. I just got my period. Her creativity was almost impressive. But what really opened my eyes was not just the frequency. It was her attitude during those rejections. No apology, no acknowledgement that it might affect me, no suggestion of a later or maybe tomorrow. Just a cold, direct dismissal, as if I were a stranger making an unwelcome advance. The breaking point came on a Saturday morning, with no work stress, no kids around. We had a reasonable week, no serious fights. I thought, maybe now we can reconnect. I approached her with genuine affection, not just physical desire. I wanted us to feel close again. She did not even look up from her phone. Seriously? I was about to do laundry, as if folding t-shirts was more important than her husband of 8 years, who was trying to maintain intimacy in the relationship. That is when something inside me shifted. I realized I was playing a game where only she knew the rules and where I was always going to lose. I was living like a monk in my own house, walking on eggshells, afraid to express normal desires, because all that awaited me was a look of annoyance or an impatient sigh. The 31st time I approached her, everything changed. Not because she finally said yes. She gave me the exact same indifferent response she had perfected over the month. But this time, instead of retreating to my corner like a defeated puppy, I made a decision that would change the course of our marriage forever. I looked her in the eyes and said something I had never said before. This is not working anymore. No anger, no pleading, just a statement of fact. The look of surprise on her face told me everything I needed to know. She had grown so comfortable in her control of our intimate life that she never considered I might do something about it. That night, I did not go to sleep frustrated or rejected. I went to sleep with a plan, because I finally understood that respect is not something you beg for or win back bit by bit. Respect is something you command, or you do not have it. And I was done living without it. The next morning, I did not pretend everything was normal. No small talk over coffee, no asking about the day's plans. I sat across from her at the kitchen table and opened the app on my phone. We need to talk about what is happening in our marriage. I showed her the screen with 30 rejections logged in the last month alone. Her reaction was exactly as I had imagined. First, a sarcastic little laugh. Are you counting that? That is a little creepy. A classic deflection tactic. Make me the problem for noticing the pattern instead of addressing the pattern itself. 30 times in 31 days. I continued, not falling for the trap. This is not a coincidence. It is a choice you have been consistently making. She quickly changed strategies. Look, marriage is not just about that. There are other forms of intimacy. Another classic. Reframe the conversation to make my needs seem shallow, completely ignoring the core problem of rejection and contempt. You're right, I said. Marriage is not just about that. It is also about respect, consideration, and not making your partner feel unwanted in their own home. Tell me, when was the last time you initiated any kind of physical affection with me? Her silence was long enough to answer the question. She could not answer because the answer was never. She had settled into receiving everything I offered without giving anything back. This is ridiculous, she finally said. I should not have to schedule intimacy. It should happen naturally. The irony was absurd. She had been systematically blocking any chance of something natural from happening for months, and now she wanted to lecture me on spontaneity. Nothing between us has been natural for a long time, I replied. What has been natural is you treating me like a nuisance every time I try to connect with you, physically or emotionally. That is when her mask completely fell. Maybe if you were not so needy all the time, I would actually want to be around you. It is exhausting having someone constantly wanting something from me. And there it was. The truth she had been hiding behind all those polite excuses. I was not her husband in her mind. I was a burden, someone whose desires were inherently annoying to her, someone she had begun to resent just for wanting a minimum of intimacy within our marriage. Needy, right? I repeated. That is what you call a husband who wants to be intimate with his own wife. Needy. And she doubled down. Yes, actually. Most women do not like to feel pressured all the time. Maybe you should learn to read the room better. The conversation could have ended there. I could have apologized, promised to change, pleaded for her help to save the relationship. That was probably what she expected. It is what she had conditioned me to do for months. But instead, I closed my phone and looked directly at her. You're absolutely right. I have been needy. I have been needy for respect from someone who clearly has none for me. I have been needy for consideration from someone who sees my feelings as a bother. But here is what is going to change. The confident smirk vanished from her face. She noticed something different in my tone. I am done. From now on, I do not need anything else from you. This marriage is over. Not because you do not want to be intimate with me, but because you showed me exactly what you think of me as a person. And now, I finally believe you. For the first time in months, she was speechless. The woman who always had a comeback on the tip of her tongue, an excuse at the ready, a way to turn the tables. Now she could not say a thing. She realized she had gone too far, revealed too much, and that there was no going back. The shock on her face was almost comical. She looked at me as if I had just announced I was moving to Mars. That was not in her script. In her world, I was supposed to apologize for bringing up intimacy, promise to be more understanding, and crawl back to my corner. You can't be serious, she said, her voice suddenly softer. You are going to end our marriage over a lack of intimacy? No, I corrected her. I am ending our marriage because you showed me you have no respect for me as your husband. The intimacy problem just made it impossible to ignore. She suddenly stood up, walking to the window. I could see her brain working, searching for an angle that would put her back in control. This is crazy. Are you having some kind of crisis? Marriages go through phases. This is not permanent. You're right about one thing, I said. This is not permanent. I am filing for divorce this week. That made her freeze. She spun around in an instant. You have already decided? Without even trying to work on it. The audacity was unbelievable. Trying to work on it? I had been trying to work on it for months. Every conversation, every attempt to reconnect, every time I tried to address the issue, she had shut me down. She made it crystal clear that my needs did not matter to her. She shifted tactics again. Suddenly, she was the victim. I had no idea you felt this way. You never told me it was this serious. I told you constantly. You just did not care enough to listen. Then came the desperate play. She walked closer, lowering her voice to that tone she used when she wanted something. Look, maybe I have been distant lately. Work has been stressful, but we can fix this. We do not need to throw away 8 years of marriage. 8 years of what exactly? Because, looking back, I can't remember the last time you treated me like someone you actually wanted to be married to. She reached out to take my hand, and I pulled it away. The rejection flashed across her face, and for a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Don't do this, she said. Don't make a permanent decision over a temporary problem. Temporary. I laughed. You have been checking out of this marriage for over a year. The only temporary thing here was how long it took me to accept reality. That is when she played her final card. What about the kids? Are you going to destroy their family because you're not getting enough affection? The kids deserve to see what a healthy relationship looks like. And right now, they are watching their own mother treat their father like a roommate she barely tolerates. Is that the example you want to set? Her face turned red with anger. You're being completely irrational. This is emotional blackmail. No. Emotional blackmail is what you have been doing. Making me feel guilty for having normal needs. Making me believe I am the problem for wanting a minimum of affection from my own wife. Making me walk on eggshells in my own home. She tried one last time, the very last. Fine. If intimacy is that important to you, we can work on it. We can schedule time together. Schedule? I shook my head. Are you listening to yourself? You're talking about scheduling basic affection like it is a dentist appointment. That is not a marriage. It is a business contract. Every marriage takes effort, she said, her voice weak. You're right. It takes effort from both people, but you gave up a long time ago. You stopped trying and still expect me to thank you for the crumbs. I walked to the door. Then I turned back. I have already spoken to a lawyer. Our finances are separated. I have done everything needed to make this as clean as possible. The papers will be filed tomorrow. For the first time in our entire conversation, she looked genuinely scared. You have already started the process? I started at the moment I realized you would rather do laundry than connect with your own husband. Everything that came after was just confirmation. She slumped into the chair, finally understanding that this was not a threat, not an attempt to get attention. This was a man who had reached his limit and was leaving with his dignity intact. Within 24 hours, my phone started ringing. First, it was her sister, then her mother, then our mutual friends. She had launched a full-blown campaign to paint me as the heartless one who was destroying the family over trivial matters. Her sister called first. I can't believe you're doing this to her. She is devastated. And all for what? Some marital problems that every couple has. Did she tell you about the 30 rejections in a single month? I asked. Silence. Then, that is between you two. But divorce? Really? And what would you do if your husband treated you with complete indifference for months and then called you needy for wanting a little affection? Another silence. Look, maybe you guys need therapy. I suggested that 6 months ago. She said our problems were not serious enough for that. Apparently, they only became serious now that I have decided to leave. Her mother was more direct. You're going to destroy our family because you do not have the maturity to understand that marriage has its ups and downs. You're right, marriage does have ups and downs, but respect is not optional. Would you stay married to someone who treats you like a nuisance? She has been going through a rough patch at work for over a year, and that gives her the right to treat me like garbage? The friends were the most interesting, couple friends of ours who saw us often. Some admitted they had noticed the atmosphere, the way she would put me down in public, the way she talked about me as if I was not even there. But the biggest surprise came from where I least expected it. My wife's best friend called me directly. I know she is mad at me for saying this, but someone needs to tell you the truth. She has been complaining about you for months, not just about the intimacy part, but about everything. The way you eat, the way you watch TV, the way you try to plan dates, everything irritates her. She said she feels trapped. Those were her words, trapped, that she married too young and missed out on experiences. She has been talking about what her life would be like if she were single again. The pieces started to fall into place. This was not work stress. It was not a phase. This was a woman who had emotionally checked out of our marriage months ago, but was too comfortable with the stability I provided to actually leave. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because what you're doing takes guts. Most men would just accept being treated like that forever. She has been using you as a safety net while fantasizing about another life. And that is not fair to you or to her. When I got home that night, my wife was waiting with a new strategy. She had cooked dinner, lit candles, and was wearing the dress I bought her for our last anniversary. I have been thinking about our conversation, she said, trying to sound seductive. Maybe I really have been neglecting you. Let me show you how much you mean to me. It was almost insulting. After months of rejection, after calling me needy, after completely dismissing my needs, she thought a candlelit dinner would erase it all. This is exactly what I am talking about, I said without even sitting down. You think you can turn affection on and off like a light switch whenever it suits you? This is not about one romantic night. It is about a pattern of contempt that you only want to change now that there are consequences. I am trying, she said, her voice starting to break. You are trying to manipulate me? That is different. Where was this effort last month, when I was still trying to save our marriage? She started to cry. I know I messed up, but people make mistakes. You can't just throw away everything we built. I am not throwing anything away. You already did that. I am just accepting it now. Please, don't do this. I swear it will be different. Different? How? You will schedule intimacy twice a month instead of never? You will only call me needy once a week instead of every day? She had no answer because we both knew she could not promise real change. She could promise different behavior for a while to avoid the divorce, but she could not promise to respect me or desire me as a wife should. The papers are already filed, I said. This conversation is over. As I walked away, I heard her say something that confirmed everything I already suspected. Fine, but don't come crawling back when you realize what you are losing. Even in defeat, she could not resist one last attempt to make me feel like I was making a mistake. It was in that moment that I was absolutely certain I was making the right decision. The divorce process moved faster than she expected. I had done my homework, documented everything, and prepared every detail so there would be no surprises. She expected me to change my mind, to come back begging for a reconciliation, but instead, every interaction we had was cold, businesslike, and final. 3 weeks later, she tried her most desperate move. I came home to find her in lingerie with music playing, the whole seduction scene she never bothered to create during our marriage. "I miss you," she said, approaching me. "I miss what we were. Don't you miss what we had?" What we had. I looked around the room, specially decorated for this performance. When exactly did we have anything like this? Because I do not remember you putting this kind of effort into our relationship when it actually mattered. I know I was not the best wife, but I can change. I want to change. You want to change? Or you want to avoid change because now there are consequences. That is not the same as actually changing. She moved closer. "Let me prove it. Give me another chance. Take a step back. You had hundreds of chances. Every day I tried to connect with you was a chance. Every conversation where I said I felt rejected was a chance. Every time I suggested we get help was a chance. You chose to ignore all of them. But it is different now. I get it. You get that you are about to lose the comfortable life you had. That is not the same as understanding how badly you treated me." She started crying again, but this time it felt rehearsed. "I love you. I know I did not show it well, but I love you. Love is not a feeling you hide and only reveal when you are about to lose something. Love is action, daily decisions, consistent behavior. You showed me your brand of love, and I no longer want any part of it. So that is it. 8 years of marriage mean nothing to you. They mean everything to me. That is exactly why I am not going to waste another 8 years waiting for you to become someone you are not." She tried one last tactic. "You think you will be happier alone? You think it is easy to start over at this age? Good luck finding someone who will put up with your neediness." And there it was again. Even in her last-ditch effort to win me back, she could not resist attacking my character. That was the real her, behind the empty promises and rehearsed tears. "You know what?" I replied. "Maybe you are right. Maybe I will be alone, but I would rather be alone with my self-respect than married to someone who thinks wanting basic affection makes me pathetic." "I never said you were pathetic. You did not have to. You showed me every single day. For months. The meetings with the lawyers were straightforward. She hired an attorney who tried to paint me as the man abandoning a salvageable marriage. But my documentation was solid. My reasons were clear. I did not want anything more than to leave in peace." During a break, her lawyer pulled me aside. "Your wife is willing to try therapy. She wants to make significant changes to save the marriage. She had a year to try therapy. She refused. Now she is only willing because the alternative is losing the life I was supporting for her. Don't you think you owe it to your marriage?" "No. I owe it to myself to stop accepting treatment that no self-respecting person should tolerate." The final papers came through on a Friday. She called me that night. She was not angry anymore, just defeated. "I hope you are happy," she said. "I am not happy. I am relieved, and that makes all the difference. I really did love you. Maybe you did, in your own way, but your way of loving is destructive to the person receiving it and exhausting for the person feeling it. You will be happier with someone who accepts that kind of distant, conditional relationship. And I will be happier with someone who actually wants to be with me, or just by myself. Both options are better than staying married to someone who sees my feelings as a nuisance." I hung up the phone and sat in my silent house. That is when I realized something important. For the first time in over a year, I felt peace. No more walking on eggshells. No more wondering if tonight would be another rejection. No more analyzing every conversation to see if I had inadvertently irritated her. Just peace. I was finally free to find someone who would value what I have to offer, instead of resenting me for offering it. 6 months later, I ran into her at the grocery store. She looked tired, older. Somehow, that confidence she always had was gone. It had given way to something that looked like regret. "How are you?" she asked, her voice cautious. "Better than I expected," I answered honestly. "And you?" She shrugged. "It has been an adjustment. Dating is not what I imagined." I almost laughed. She spent our entire marriage acting like she was missing out on something better, and now she was discovering the grass is not always greener on the other side. It was just different grass, with different problems. The freedom she craved had not turned out as she had hoped. Turns out most guys my age either want something casual or are divorced for the same reasons that led you to divorce me. She looked at my shopping cart. I keep meeting guys who think I should be grateful for minimal effort. The irony was perfect. She left a marriage where she was treated with respect and consideration because she felt trapped, and now she was in the dating world, surrounded by men who gave her the exact same treatment she gave me. "I am sorry to hear that," I said. And this time, it was true. "Are you seeing someone?" "Yes, I am." Her face changed. Pretty seriously, actually. "She is everything I did not even know I was missing." "How so?" "She actually wants to spend time with me. Physical affection is not something I have to beg for or schedule. She values my effort instead of taking it for granted. Basic things that should be normal in any relationship." I saw in her eyes that she was processing all of that, probably comparing it to how she used to react when I tried to offer her those things. "I made a lot of mistakes," she said quietly. "We both did. The difference is, I learned from mine. I know you probably do not want to hear this, but I get now what I lost. You were a good husband. I just could not see it at the time. I was a good husband to someone who did not want a husband, and that is just not sustainable. Do you think we would have worked out if I had been different sooner?" I thought about it for a moment. "Maybe, but you were not different sooner, and that was the real you. I can't build a marriage on the hope that the other person will someday become someone they never were. But I have changed. Going through all this taught me what I really want." "Great. That will help you in your next relationship." She looked surprised. "You have no interest in trying again?" "No. I am with someone today who wanted me from day one. Not someone who needed to lose me to realize my worth. That makes all the difference." As I walked away, I felt something I did not expect: pity. Not for what she had lost, but for everything she never knew she had. She spent our entire marriage looking for reasons to be dissatisfied, instead of appreciating what was right in front of her. 3 months later, I got a text from her sister. My ex-wife was engaged to some guy she met on a dating app. According to the sister, he is nothing like you, which is probably for the best for both of you. I showed the text to my girlfriend. She laughed. Good for her. Some people only learn the hard way. That night, as we were watching a movie on the couch, she snuggled up to me without me asking, without me demanding it, without rejection, without excuses, without making me feel guilty for wanting closeness. Just natural affection between two people who genuinely enjoy each other's company. "Thank you," I said. "For what?" "For wanting to be with me, for reminding me how good it feels to be valued. Thank you for not settling for less than you deserve. If you had stayed in that marriage, we never would have met." She was right. The best decision I ever made was not to fight harder for a marriage that was already dead. It was to walk away from someone who did not value what I offered and find someone who did. My ex-wife taught me an important lesson, just not the lesson she intended to teach. She taught me that self-respect is non-negotiable, that love without respect is just disguised convenience, and that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is to stop trying to fix something that was never meant to work. I never thanked her for that lesson, but in a way, the 31 rejections were the best thing that ever happened to me. They forced me to stop accepting crumbs and start demanding the feast I deserved. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.